This week in Linux, we've got new releases from some under-the-hood projects like FFmpeg and QEMU. There's a new software store for Linux that is exclusively focused on Flatpaks. CachyOS is back on the show again with a brand new release. And we've also got a bit of drama news to cover this week. There's some drama going on with the SuperTuxKart project, and Google has decided that sideloading on Android has to go. All of this and more on This Week in Linux, the weekly news show that keeps you up to date with what's going on in the Linux and open source world. And we did it! 100,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. I mean, thank you to everyone who helped me get to such a crazy milestone that I never expected. Thanks to everyone who recently subscribed to get us over that 100,000 mark. And another big thank you to everyone who has been along for the ride during this whole long haul all the way to the silver play button. I don't have one of those yet. I mean, honestly, I'm not really sure how you're supposed to get one. Apparently, you have to wait for YouTube to email you, but I don't really know. Someday, though, you will see that silver play button back there behind me. Now that 100,000 is possible, though, maybe we can go for 1 million subscribers and get that gold play button. Yeah? Huh? In the meantime, let's jump right into your source for Linux GNews. This episode of Twill is sponsored by Sandfly Security. More on them later. FFmpeg is one of those projects that you might not have heard of, but you are probably using in some way, because it powers many big open source apps like OBS, VLC, Audacity, Blender, Kdenlive, Kodi, Handbrake, and many more. But it also powers some other stuff, including some proprietary apps. And there's even rumors that YouTube, Spotify, and Facebook all use FFmpeg behind the scenes. The devs actually pushed out the latest release of FFmpeg this week with FFmpeg 8.0, and it is a big one. The biggest feature is new Vulkan-based codecs powered by Vulkan 1.3. This feature is not made for mainstream codecs where GPUs usually already have built-in acceleration for them, but it supports codecs designed for parallel processing, including FFV1, ProRes RAW, decoding only for that one. And they say the next minor update will add ProRes and VC2 support. There's also new native decoders, including APV, ProRes RAW, Real Video 6.0, Sanyo, LD, AD, PCM, and G.728. They also added hardware-accelerated decoding for Vulkan VP9, VA API VVC, OpenHarmony H.264/H.265, and also hardware-accelerated encoding for Vulkan AV1 and OpenHarmony H.264 and H.265. FFmpeg 8.0 also adds support for MCC, WIP, and APV formats. Finally, there's new filters such as the Whisper audio filter allows using AI to generate subtitles for videos and audio, which is fantastic and a really cool feature that can be put into so many different applications, whether it's a player, an editor, and so much more. The color detect filter can detect the color range and alpha mode of a video. The D3D11 hardware scaling allows video resizing with the GPU, which is significantly faster than using the CPU, and there's a whole lot more. FFmpeg is an incredibly useful and incredibly important project. So thanks for everything you've been doing for the years that you have, because FFmpeg has been around for a very long time. It doesn't get enough attention, and it deserves a lot because it is so fundamental to so many different pieces of software and so many different projects. So again, thank you, FFmpeg, for everything and also for yet another great release. Google is back on the show this week with some bummer news. Starting next year, Android will require all apps to be registered by verified developers to be installed on any phone that is Play Protect verified. In other words, almost all Android phones that ships the Play Store. The rollout for this will start in September 2026 in Brazil, Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand first, and it will roll out to the rest of the world globally starting in 2027. With this, developers must register the app and the Android Developer Console to distribute it. This means they will need to provide a legal name, address, email, and phone number, and organizations must provide a website and a DUNS listing or DUNS listing. Luckily, this information is not surfaced to users, so you can be anonymous in that sense, but at the same time, yeah, sure, Google. Now, I will say that it makes some sense for Google to want to do this. I mean, in the case of what benefits Google is that well, Android has a pretty big malware problem. And this is a step that they're taking to prevent this. And it makes sense because, well, Play Store has always had a malware problem. And even if you go back to the Android marketplace, it was a mess back then too. So it's been a problem for Android for a very long time. It is a bummer, but also I kind of get it. There's also reports that are saying that this will help them also get rid of some things that they don't like, such as patched applications. It would kill the process of doing those because there's stuff that lets you, use the premium services for Spotify for free, or patches to other applications to remove ads and stuff like that. It would break those from working as well. So that would probably be another reason why Google would want to do this. And it will likely also kill sites letting you download paid apps for free and so on. But at the same time, this can also hurt open source devs who can no longer just upload an APK for their project and now have to verify an APK. This may discourage some developers who may not want to risk giving up their personal information for this kind of thing, even if Google claims the information won't be serviced to users or whatever else, like that's enough, because that data might also be given to governments and all that sort of stuff. They might not want to do that. So it could also discourage a lot of developers from participating in the marketplace, in the Play Store. And who knows? Now, there are some third-party Android ROMs like GrapheneOS and others, and EOS, for example, that are not necessarily required, or they have any requirements or specifically contained to the Play Store. You can use other stores, so they wouldn't really be affected by this. But at the same time, it's still going to affect a lot of people, especially considering the Play Store types of phones are the vast majority of Android devices. So yeah, I get why Google wants to do this. It makes sense, but at the same time, it is a bummer because back in the day when I was using Android, I was sideloading applications because there were a lot of stuff you couldn't get in the store and all that sort of stuff. And there are things that people just didn't want to go through the process of being in the store and that sort of. So at the same time, I get it, but it is a bummer. CachyOS is back on the show this week. We actually talked about them last week related to the taking over the #1 spot on DistroWatch, but there's actually a brand new release that adds a lot of cool stuff. So we're going to talk about it again this week. So let's talk about their new release of the August 2025 version of CachyOS. There's a new package dashboard allowing you to see versions of packages in their repos, as well as when they were last updated. So this package dashboard will show you architecture, repository, package name, update time, and more. And for each package, the package build source is clearly shown, providing transparency about which package builds come from Arch Linux directly and which have been modified by CachyOS. Packages are without a source are pulled directly from the AUR, and there's also a binary download link for each package, so you can inspect the binary or install it yourself manually if you want to. Also, this release, they wanted to focus on stability, and they've been getting reports of issues with the latest kernel. So now Linux-CachyOS-LTS is installed as a fallback, allowing easier recovery if an error does happen. The installer now uses the LTS kernel, and this is for being more reliable without graphics issues. They may eventually add in a secondary kernel to ensure users will have the latest and greatest hardware can boot and install smoothly. So if someone who has a new AMD or Intel GPU or something like that, they might need to have a newer kernel. So they are considering having both at some point, but for now it's using the LTS kernel. The Neri Window Manager is now a new desktop option in the online installer with CachyOS dot files for a good out-of-the-box experience provided for you. Installing Grub with Btrfs will now automatically enable bootable snapshots for you. You can already do this with the Lamine version of the bootloader, but if you wanted to use Grub, you can do that and have those benefits with Btrfs and snapshots with this latest release. SoIX Sleep, I think that's how you say it, or SoIX Sleep is now enabled on supported NVIDIA systems, allowing low-power standby while still getting system notifications and allowing other background events. Cachy Update is a fork of Arch Update, providing a system tray icon notifying you of updates. It can be enabled in the CachyOS Hello Tweaks page if you'd like that. CachyOS's version of Proton now has DLSS version upgrader with an option to force the latest preset. There's also a new XESS version upgrade feature. There's improvements to physics or PhysX. Required NVIDIA libraries are now bundled in with it, and you can now enable FSR4 on RDNA 3 GPUs with a flag, as well as support for NT Sync is now also available with a flag. And of course, there's various bug fixes and improvements under the hood, like the improvements for the Lamine bootloader. They also resolve some installation issues with MBR/BIOS problems and that sort of thing, and so much more. So if you'd like to check out the full list of everything that happened with the latest release of CachyOS, you'll find links in the show notes. As Linux users, we know what's up. Security is non-negotiable, but with threats evolving faster than ever, your security tools need to keep pace without dragging your system down. Traditional agents, they slow you down, create stability risks, and it's time for a smarter approach. And that's why This Week in Linux is proud to be sponsored by Sandfly Security, the agentless security platform designed for Linux. Sandfly doesn't just detect and respond. It transforms security with SSH key tracking, password auditing, and drift detection, covering threats from every angle. Whether your systems are in the cloud, on-premises, or in embedded devices, Sandfly ensures they're all secure without the headaches of agent-based solutions. And if your company is interested in transforming your security strategy, Sandfly also offers free trials to show off what it can do for your business. So to do that, all you got to do is go to thisweekinlinux.com/Sandfly. That's thisweekinlinux.com/SANDFLY. Listen to what Timothy Lisko, Deputy CISO at DigitalOcean, has to say. Sandfly is one of the most exciting pieces of security tech I've seen recently. We're excited to not only be a customer, but also offer an integrated solution to our customers through the DigitalOcean marketplace. This technology addresses Linux security in a really novel and compelling way. Experience security that's effective and gives you peace of mind. No agents, no downtime, just cutting-edge protection. Dive into the future of Linux security at thisweekinlinux.com/Sandfly. That's thisweekinlinux.com/SANDFLY. And see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy. And if you're as fascinated by cybersecurity as much as I am, go check out our interviews with the CEO of Sandfly on Destination Linux podcast. Greg has an awesome story about how he got into Linux, as well as how he got into security. So go check it out at destinationlinux.net/409 for that interview. And also, Greg has joined us for this new segment we have, the Sandfly Security Scoop. We talk about various different things. He came on the episode 429, and also the very next one that is coming out in a few days is he's going to be back to talk about a really interesting topic of a North Korean rootkit that was leaked, and so much more. So check that out when it comes out. Plus, if you want to save some money, and you can get the Home Edition, the Home Lab Edition of Sandfly with a discount code DESTINATION and get 50% off the Home Lab Edition. It is absolutely worth it. Go check it out and use that coupon code if you want to get the Home Lab with Destination coupon. Again, thisweekinlinux.com/Sandfly to check out the awesome folks at Sandfly. Bazaar is a brand new software store on Linux, and it is exclusively built for Flatpaks, which is really interesting and also might be limited to some people, but this is really cool for a variety of different setups, especially for people who are wanting to use a system that they don't want to integrate with the full packages of the regular distribution, and they just want to focus on Flatpaks, and especially with stuff that's like the atomic style / immutable style of a distro, then that way they could use this for that, which many are doing that. In fact, Universal Blue is already shipping Bazaar in all of their images. Bazaar, Bluefin, Aurora, and etc. are all using Bazaar at this point. So with Bazaar, you can search and browse apps, you can view screenshots, you can get details on the app page, you can install, of course, and remove, you can update apps and all that sort of stuff. And the Flathub page actually emphasizes supporting developers who make the Linux desktop possible. So that's right, you did hear that correctly. They have a Flathub page, so you can use Bazaar as a Flatpak to install Flatpaks from the Flathub, and you can get it from the Flathub. So I know that sounds a bit of a meta system, but you can install it however you want, and if you already have Flatpak, you can get it that way to simplify the process. You could run a command, or you can use whatever store you already have, and I get that's kind of weird, but it's also kind of cool at the same time. So Bazaar is quite fast. It has multi-threaded performance, and backend operations are decoupled from the rest of the UI. So you can still manage and check out different applications and search around and browse as well to your heart's content, basically, while it's installing or removing or doing anything in the back end because it's not going to slow down the UI because they're separated. So that is a good idea. And it also has both a GNOME Shell search provider and a KRunner plugin to quickly install apps from your DE if you're using GNOME or Plasma. Now, like I said, this is very useful for distros that are kind of like image-based distros, like are mutable, that ship only Flatpaks. You now don't have to worry about shipping something like GNOME software or removing non-Flatpak package kit functionality and that sort of stuff. And if you want to avoid package kit altogether, this does make that possible as well. This is also great if you want to run a more stable-based distribution like maybe Debian, for example, but still want to have up-to-date software and use Flatpaks to do it. So that is a pretty good solution if you're wanting to get up-to-date applications inside of Debian. Now, of course, there could be some downsides in the fact that if your application that you want is not available as a Flatpak, you wouldn't be able to use this store to get it. But more and more these days, a lot of developers are releasing their stuff as Flatpaks to put it in the Flathub and all that sort of stuff. So it's not as much of an issue as it used to be, and it's getting better and better as we go. But there could be an issue for some people who might run into an app here or there that is not available as a Flatpak. Recently, I've been running Bazaar, and I also have been using Bazaar to install applications just to see what the experience is like, and it is very nice. If the application you want is there, then it is a really nice experience, especially when you have a bunch that you want to install. If you have like 10 or more, it works really nicely. You just say, okay, install, and then it creates a queue, and it does them all automatically. You don't even have to pay attention to it. You just say, I want this, this, and this, and so on, and it just does it in the background, and it doesn't slow you down in terms of like looking for the other applications or the next application and all that sort of stuff. It's a very nice store, and yeah. So if you do have everything you want in a Flatpak, you can check out Bazaar. I know what you're thinking. Mario Kart is pretty expensive because if you got to buy the game, but you also have to buy a Switch too, and they're pretty expensive. Maybe there's an alternative. Well, actually there is. It's called SuperTuxKart. And this, we're going to be talking about the new fork or new iteration of it called SuperTuxKart Evolution. I don't know if you're supposed to say it that way. Probably not. But so there's a little bit of drama that's happening with SuperTuxKart project. We got some news for organizational changes as well as a brand new release that's coming. In the next release of SuperTuxKart 1.5 has been in beta since about Halloween of last year. And it also had a release candidate at the end of May of this year. But it's still not out yet. So what's with the delay? Well, one of the co-leaders has been delaying the update and refused to commit to a release timeline or discuss the project's future. With that, the rest of the team was convinced that he is just uncooperative. So he and another team member have been removed from their accounts. In fact, the other team member was removed because they were letting that co-leader use their account as like pretending to be them. And so they're deciding to get rid of both accounts. With that, the removed co-leader has not given access to a lot of the project's key resources, including the domain name, itch.io, PayPal accounts, Google Play Store accounts, social media accounts, and the online server for the multiplayer. So with that, they announced SuperTuxKart Evolution. It has a brand new website because they kind of had to, and also they're working on the release for SuperTuxKart 1.5. They don't have an exact release date yet, but they are working on it, and they do feel like it's going to be coming soon. And they will also be working on 2.0, which is a next major version, and that is going to have a ton of updates. The new website advertises Evolution as being the biggest release in the project's history, with new tracks, new features, enhanced graphics, improved gameplay, and so much more. They state the roadmap will be released soon for the SuperTuxKart Evolution project. So you can check out the new website at supertuxkart-evolution.com. The KDE team is working on a new initial setup wizard for the KDE Plasma desktop. This setup wizard will allow you to set the language, keyboard layout, network configuration, time zone, and user accounts on the first boot. This is similar to how GNOME initial setup works on distributions like Fedora. And this is great if you want to install Linux for someone else before giving it to them, but don't want them to go through the process of setting up their own password and setting all the other stuff like that, which is very useful. It's kind of like an OEM style. The plan for this wizard is to be available on the next version of Plasma with Plasma 6.5. They also announced some UI improvements that will land in Plasma 6.5. And scrollable panels, for example, a better tone mapping curve for HDR content on KWin, making it look better, no longer showing the drawing tablets page in settings if there's no drawing tablet, and more. And there's also been some bug fixes and stuff for Plasma 6.5, as well as the upcoming bug fix update for Plasma 6.4, which would be Plasma 6.4.5. Now, Plasma 6.5 is scheduled for October 21st at the moment, so there are some things to look forward to, and it's not that far away for the next release of KDE Plasma, and there's a lot of cool stuff that they've been working on for this release, so I'm very excited for this upcoming release of the next version of Plasma. And of course, be sure to subscribe if you want to get more information about it, because I will do a big rundown when that release happens. QEMU 10.1 has been released. For those who don't know, this is an open source emulator that can let you run other architectures or run KVM or Zen virtual machines with near native performance. This tech powers apps like GNOME Boxes and Virt Manager, as well as others. Some of the features include new support for ARM features such as SME2, SME B16, SME F16, and more. There's ARM machine support for Meta Cataline BMC, AS2700FC, and the NVIDIA GB200 BMC machine. There's a fix for blue screens when running MIPS version of Windows NT on the QEMU Magnus target. There's now support for the Kunminghu CPU and platform on RISC-V. QEMU on KVM now supports Intel Trust Domain extensions on the 6.16 kernel. You can now start Intel TDX and AMD SEV SNP virtual machines from an IGVM file. Also, QEMU GTK interface now has better scaling, and there's experimental host support for WebAssembly using Mscripton. And of course, there's many more features that you can check out on the QEMU website. Thanks for watching this episode of This Week in Linux. If you like what I do here on the show and want to be kept up to date with what's going on in the Linux and open source world, then be sure to subscribe. And of course, remember to like that smash button. If you'd like to support the show and the Tux Digital Network, then consider becoming a patron by going to tuxdigital.com/membership. We're getting a bunch of cool perks, like access to the patron-only section of our Discord server and much more. You can also support the show by ordering the Linux Wear a t-shirt or the This Week in Linux shirt at tuxdigital.com/store. Plus, while you're there, check out other cool stuff we have like hats, mugs, hoodies, and more at tuxdigital.com/store. I'll see you next time for another episode of your source for Linux GNews. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for making it to 100,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And thanks so much for everything, being a part of this community. I'm Michael Tennell. I hope you're doing swell. Be sure to ring that notification bell. And until next time, I bid you farewell.